the headlines of VTV News, 13th Party Central Committee convenes 10th Plenum. Hoa Binh villagers safely moved to temporary shelter. And later on in our world news, Thailand issues Mekong flood warning.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello and welcome to VTV News, broadcast live to you from Hanoi. You with me, Lina Pham, and here's the top news of the hour. The 13th Party Central Committee's 10th Plenum opened in Hanoi on Wednesday morning. General Secretary and State President To Lam chaired the meeting and delivered the opening speech.
The Party Central Committee observed a minute of silence to commemorate the victims of Typhoon Yagi and the floods. General Secretary and State President To Lam stated that this 10th plenum would address 10 topics related to 2 groups of strategic issues and specific tasks, including those needed to accelerate the successful implementation of the resolution from the 13th National Party Congress. Regarding preparations for the 14th Party Congress and the submitted documents, General Secretary and State President To Lam suggested that the Party Central Committee focus on clarifying the political report and the implementation of strategic goals set by the 13th Congress. He urged that the discussion also address effective policies and measures that could propel the country into a new era, as well as new practical elements that need to be included.
We must prioritize institutional and developmental breakthroughs, innovate our personnel practices, and enhance socio-economic infrastructure. By developing new productive forces and improving production relations, we can create opportunities and foster new avenues for growth, driving national development and defense. It's crucial to focus on refining production relations and streamlining the structures of the party, state, National Assembly, and socio-political organizations. Innovating the party's leadership and governance methods is crucial for moving Vietnam forward. We need to promote decentralization, reform administrative procedures, and tap into all social resources. Emphasizing digital and green transformations is essential, with science, technology, and innovation serving as key drivers of development.
Regarding personnel preparation for the 14th Party Congress, General Secretary and State President To Lam emphasized the importance of the report summarizing the personnel work of the 13th Party Central Committee and the development of personnel direction for the 14th Party Central Committee. He urged the Party Central Committee to approach this responsibility with impartiality, transparency, objectivity, caution, and thoroughness, always prioritizing the common national and people's interest. The 10th plenum will also discuss party-building work and the implementation of the party charter. Also on the same day, the Party Central Committee held a fundraiser to support those affected by storms and floods.
The tropical low-pressure system in the East Sea could intensify into a storm, potentially impacting the central mainland directly. At 10 a.m. on September the 18th, the tropical low-pressure area was about 180 kilometers east of Hang Sa Island district, with an intensity level of 7 and level 9 gusts. In the next 24 hours, the tropical low-pressure area is forecast to move quickly at a speed of 15 to 20 kilometers per hour and strengthen into a storm. By 10 a.m. on September the 19th, the storm center will be located directly over coastal waters from Quảng Trị to Quảng Nam. The storm's intensity will likely reach level 8 with wind speeds up to 62 to 74 kilometers per hour and gusts up to level 10. In the next 24 hours, the dangerous area at sea will extend from 15 to 19 degrees north latitude, west of 115 degrees east longitude. Starting today, the tropical depression circulation will cause widespread rain from Thanh Hóa to Quảng Ngãi. The total rainfall over 2 days is expected to reach 100 to 300 millimeters, with some areas receiving over 500 millimeters. Rivers from Thanh Hóa to Quảng Nam are likely to experience flooding, with peak levels ranging from alert level 1 to 2. The Ngan Sâu and Ngan Phố rivers in Hà Tĩnh, as well as small rivers in Quảng Bình and Quảng Trị, may reach alert levels 2 to 3. Now, in order to proactively respond to the tropical depression in the East Sea, which may strengthen into a storm, agencies, units, and localities in central coastal provinces and cities are urgently calling for ships to leave the danger zone. In Da Nang, moderate to heavy rain has been falling continuously since early morning. The city is implementing measures to respond to the tropical depression, which may intensify into a storm, including communicating with ships and urging them to take shelter. At ports in Da Nang City, more than 1,000 ships are anchored, with over 7,800 people on board. As of 9 a.m. on September the 18th, Da Nang City still has 39 ships and vessels, with 448 workers operating at sea. In Quảng Nam Province, 206 fishing boats with a total of nearly 2,000 workers remain at sea. Of these, 25 boats with 176 workers are in the Hoàng Sa area, and while 37 boats with more than 1,000 workers are in the Trường Sa Sea area. Cracks stretching over 800 meters have appeared in a 7-hectare hillside area in Lạc Sơn District, Hoa Binh Province. 60 households with nearly 300 people have been urgently evacuated. Red flags mark locations with large cracks that pose a high risk of landslides. The cracks appeared 5 days ago, initially spanning only a few dozen meters. But after a few days, they had reached nearly 600 meters in length, 50 centimeters in width, and nearly 2 meters in depth. This area is production forest land. More than 500 people from 111 households live below it. The crack and subsidence area is located on a high hill, less than 100 meters from the residential area. Xóm Rai is more than 20 kilometers from the center of Lạc Sơn District and is mainly inhabited by Mường people. Currently, the government has evacuated 60 households in the dangerous zone to safe locations, including relatives' houses and the village cultural house. However, many households remain in the area at risk of landslides. Residents are currently prohibited from returning to these areas. Police and military forces are maintaining round-the-clock surveillance to monitor the situation and continue supporting the affected people. The Hoa Binh provincial government is also considering a plan to find alternative land in the commune for resettling this residential area. Residents of Kho Vàng village, Cốc Lầu commune, Bắc Hà district, Lao Cai province have safely returned to their temporary shelters. These households were fortunate to escape the landslides and flash floods thanks to timely evacuation efforts.
1 week after their evacuation, Kho Vàng villagers can finally rest. The temporary housing, quickly organized by Lao Cai Provincial Police, provides essential utilities like electricity and water and other necessary facilities.
It's safer now. I'm no longer afraid of the rain or wind.
When the police persuaded me to move, I agreed, because this location was closer than other options.
Captain Nguyễn Mạnh Cường visited the shelter to encourage residents to return.
Together with local authorities, we raised awareness among villagers about the dangers of living in areas prone to landslides and storms and assisted them in moving their belongings to temporary shelters.
The young village head Ma Xiaochu made the decision to evacuate the entire village and assisted authorities in mobilizing people to return to temporary shelters.
I encouraged people to evacuate because the old location was dangerous. A landslide could happen at any time, and we wouldn't be prepared.
Lao Cai province plans to build a 2.5-hectare resettlement area for Kawang village, 1.5 kilometers from the old site, aiming to provide stable housing by November the 30th.
5 search dogs from the Border Guard Command were sent to Nậm Tông village, Nậm Luk commune, Bắc Hà district, Lao Cai province, to locate victims missing due to landslides. By the evening of September the 17th, the dogs had identified 5 locations suspected of containing victims' bodies buried under layers of rock, soil, and mud. At 2 of these locations, parts of human remains were discovered. However, due to the large volume of rock, soil, and mud, forces are waiting for excavators to assist in digging and narrowing the search area. Currently, 5 victims remain missing. In response to the devastating impact of Typhoon Yagi across northern Vietnam, the Embassy of Ireland has announced 250,000 euros in funding to support UNICEF in providing clean water, sanitation, and hygiene assistance to vulnerable children and families affected by the disaster. Following a rapid assessment, UNICEF has identified critical gaps in water, sanitation, and hygiene services as top priorities for the initial emergency response. The Embassy of Ireland's contribution will directly support these efforts, ensuring that families receive immediate aid in the form of clean water and access to sanitation facilities. This will include water tanks, water filters, soap, hand sanitizers, and water purification tablets. And before we move to the next part of VTV News, let's check out how the Vietnam dong is weighed against other currencies in the world market today. Coming up next, Hanoi restores over 4,000 trees after Typhoon Yagi. And Mid-Autumn Festival in Nu Village. Intersectoral forces at the Lao Cai border gate have mobilized maximum personnel and increased coordination to speed up customs clearance for people and businesses. Administrative procedures are processed quickly to create favorable conditions for entry, exit, import, and export activities, reducing time and costs for businesses. Every day, 500 to 600 import and export vehicles pass through the Kim Thành International Road Border Gate number 2 at the Lao Cai border gate. Typhoon Yagi has damaged over 40,000 trees in Hanoi. More than 11,000 of these were urban trees uprooted from sidewalks, streets, traffic islands, median strips, and other city-managed public areas. In the past 10 days, the city has prioritized 3 tasks: clearing debris to ensure traffic safety, assessing and relocating weakened trees to nurseries for care, and mobilizing efforts to replant over 4,000 fallen trees.
To save the fallen dragon plum tree, workers stripped off all leaves and pruned the branches to help the tree focus its nutrients on the trunk and reduce evaporation. The longer the tree remains on the ground before replanting, the lower its chances of survival, making it a race against time to save as many trees as possible.
If left exposed too long, the tree will weaken from sun and rain, especially without leaf removal. Workers and leaders are doing their best, working tirelessly with little rest.
About 1/3 of the routes are still underground. The company has deployed all available resources to rescue the trees. We've replanted trees that have a success rate of at least 60%.
Nearly 300 trees, or about 1/10 of those in Thong Nhất Park, were knocked down by Typhoon Yagi. Replanting these trees is more complex than simply returning them to their original spots. Canvas cables are used to lift the trees and protect their bark. The primary goal is to save every tree, with a special focus on preserving heritage trees.
Of the 18 heritage trees managed by the park, 2 were severely affected: the banyan tree planted by President Ho Chi Minh and a tree in the Indochina garden with a trunk fracture near its roots. Recovery will be challenging, but we will do our best to preserve these heritage trees.
To finish replanting the fallen trees before September the 20th, officers, workers in mechanics at Thong Nhất Park have devoted the past 10 days to the task, working from early morning to late at night and setting aside their personal matters.
Despite the flooding on the first floor of my house, no one has taken a day off. We're all dedicated to saving the trees.
Green shoots will emerge from these tree trunks in 2 to 3 weeks, with shade returning in 2 to 3 years. However, this is only a short-term solution. Hanoi needs to select more storm-resistant tree species to better withstand typhoons and reduce disaster-related damage.
This week, students in flood-affected areas returned to school, but many arrived without textbooks, and numerous school libraries were inundated with water-damaged books. In response, publishers are preparing to print millions of additional textbooks for these regions. Additionally, approximately 5,000 textbooks have already been donated to the most severely impacted areas to help support recovery efforts. Statistics show that there are currently about 8 million people with disabilities in Vietnam, including more than 2 million children. Ensuring access to education for children with disabilities has always been a priority for the party and the state. With the cooperation of families, schools, and society, students with disabilities have started the new school year with great enthusiasm. Attending school and gaining knowledge will help them build confidence, thrive in life, and integrate into the community.
This is a special class at Sadan Secondary School in Hanoi. All of the students here are deaf. The primary mode of communication between teachers and students is sign language, along with spoken language and vivid visual aids to help children grasp the lessons more easily.
The children are taught the main subjects prescribed in the 2018 General Education Program, but with reduced content and difficulty. We also offer special subjects for deaf students, such as communication development, pronunciation, listening practice, and sign language. These subjects will help children develop their abilities and better prepare them to study the main subjects better.
I go to school to study, play with friends, integrate into the community, and help first graders.
In addition to special classes, the school also has integrated classes where deaf students, with the help of hearing aids or cochlear implants, can study alongside hearing students. The school currently has about 400 students in kindergarten, primary, and secondary school, with 65% being students with disabilities, mainly deaf children.
When students finish grade 9, some want to continue their studies, but some want to work to help their families integrate into society. The school organizes 1 to 2 vocational classes each year. The children will have a primary school diploma and can go to work right away.
The new school year has also begun at the Vietnam Friendship Village, a second home for about 120 children affected by Agent Orange. Depending on their health status, these children receive comprehensive care, including medical attention, rehabilitation, cultural education, life skills training, and vocational instructions.
The children here experience even greater hardships due to the severe effects of Agent Orange. Both society and the village view it as our duty to provide emotional support and safeguard their rights.
People with disabilities already face challenges. The children here experience even greater hardships due to the severe effects of Agent Orange. As a result, both society and the village view it as our duty to provide emotional support and safeguard their rights.
Small gifts celebrate the children's progress from the past school year and serve as motivation for them to start the new year with enthusiasm.
For many children in Nhu village, Phúc Khánh Commune, Bảo Yên district, a dark cloud hangs over this year's Mid-Autumn Festival due to recent floods and landslides. Despite receiving meaningful gifts, the young ones can't shake their longing for their loved ones and their friends.
Phúc Khánh Primary and Secondary Boarding School Number 1, Class 2A originally has 16 students, but now only 13 remain. After the landslide, 3 students are permanently unable to return to school, while 2 are in the emergency room. Teacher Nguyễn Văn Phong organized a Mid-Autumn Festival for his students. The classrooms were full of cakes and candies, but there were no star lanterns, no performances, and no smiles. Mid-Autumn gifts were placed on the empty seats so that teachers and students could remember their 3 classmates.
I used to sit with Khan, then he was taken away by the landslide. I miss him so much.
I tried to comfort and encourage the children. They were emotional and missed their friends. They were traumatized by the landslide.
The recent flood took the lives of 17 new students, with 4 still missing and 10 receiving intensive treatment at hospitals. Hoàng Ngọc Lan lost her grandmother, father, mother, and 2 brothers in the flood. In recent days, Thanh has been her sole support, helping her cope with the grief and return to school. On this Mid-Autumn Festival, fragrant incense is lit at the landslide site to honor the unfortunate victims. Under the thick layer of mud lie children who will never again experience the joy of Mid-Autumn Festival.
Coming up next in our world news, Thailand issues Mekong flood warning. And new research to reduce the risk of developing dementia. Thai authorities have issued flood warnings for 5 northeastern provinces where the rising Mekong River could burst its banks. Huge amounts of water are flowing downstream and could cause flooding this week in 5 provinces, according to the National Water Resources Authority. In Nakhon Phanom province, people living along the banks of the Mekong have been advised to move to higher ground, with the Nakhon Phanom Stadium prepared as a temporary shelter if needed. The Thai Meteorological Department has warned that heavy rains are possible across the country, with strong winds and high tides along the Andaman coast and the upper Gulf of Thailand until September the 20th. Since mid-August, floods have killed 22 people in Thailand. The Open Market Committee of the U.S. Federal Reserve entered the first day of its 2-day meeting on Tuesday. Most economic experts and investors believe that the meeting may witness a turning point in the Fed's interest rate policy. The Fed is expected to reduce the operating interest rate and begin the process of monetary easing to support the U.S. economy. Currently, the market is betting on 2 possibilities. The Fed will cut interest rates either a half point or a quarter point during this meeting. The CME Group's interest rate tracker is now estimating a 65% chance of a half point rate cut compared to a quarter-point cut. This is a notable change because just last week, expectations still largely favored a quarter-point cut. The Fed's monetary tightening cycle began in March 2022 with the first interest rate hike. Wall Street is now hoping for a rate cut from the Fed to boost earnings growth after a long period of high borrowing cost and inflation. Addressing hearing loss and depression could be some of the easiest ways to reduce the risk of developing dementia. That's according to a new series of scientific papers. For the first time, the papers focused on the Western Pacific region, which includes Australia, China, Indonesia, and Vietnam. The area is predicted to have half the global cases of dementia by 2050. A report by Fiona Blackwood, ABC News.
This Tai Chi class is part of a program of activities designed to put a positive focus on ageing.
It's not only the exercise, it's also the socialisation that comes with it, which is great.
Most here are well versed on the risk factors associated with dementia and are doing what they can to mitigate the ones within their control.
What we can do for ourselves is to try to stay as involved as we can with other people, to stay as involved as we can with learning new things.
Clearly there are genetic issues underpinning the process, and so we know, for instance, that diabetes, hypertension, smoking, some critically important modifier risk factors are more prevalent in the Western Pacific region.
With 66 million people in the region estimated to have depression, treating the condition could be key to reducing dementia cases.
It affects people's quality of life, and it also affects their capacity to engage in the other health behaviours that are really good for your brain, like social engagement, physical activity, etc.
More research needs to be done to confirm the theory that treating hearing loss will also decrease dementia risk.
A touring Canadian created light display featuring colorful lanterns and millions of LED lights made its international debut in Singapore. According to organizers, the festival, which was first held in Montreal in 2019, utilizes around 20 million LED lights in total. Dinosaurs, jungles, winter wonderland, and sand dunes are among the themes of the intricately lit displays at Marina Bay. LED lights have been chosen due to their safe and relatively environmentally friendly nature. The exhibit, which was constructed over a period of around 6 weeks, will be held until February 2025 in Singapore. And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. And that's it for this edition of VTV News. Thank you very much for watching. To rewatch our program, you can download VTVgo from App Store or Google Play, or tune in our YouTube channel at youtube.com/VTV4go. Goodbye for now.